Right now, we need to recruit every free speech advocate in America to start filing lawsuit after lawsuit declaring Team Biden's opinion police, the aptly dubbed Ministry of Truth, unconstitutional. The Department of Homeland Security's newly created, quote, Disinformation Governance Board, that's the official name, well, it must be shut down. We have to shut this thing down. It is just another example of Team Biden's constant assault on our civil liberties. They know they are now operating far outside of the bounds of the Constitution. It is not government's role to decide what speech is valid and what isn't, which is why Joe Biden marched out his Bidenettes to go on the defensive over the weekend. Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security, like his boss, explained the purpose of the Disinformation Board in perfect deep state mumbo jumbo.
Regulatory flows to ensure that the way in which we address threats, the connectivity between threats and acts of violence are addressed without infringing on free speech.
It's a bunch of nonsense, really. If he can't bore you to sleep, he will confuse you into a daze. It's by design, to cover up what this so-called board is really about. And it's not about combating propaganda from Russia, China, or Iran, as the secretary claims. If it was, wouldn't DHS hire some CIA analyst that specializes in information warfare being waged by foreign enemies? That's who you should hire for this. If you're talking about Russia and Iran and China, of course they would hire somebody like that, but they don't hire somebody like that. They don't do it. Why? Instead, they hire a left-wing warrior whose only goal is to seek, silence, and ultimately destroy conservatives. Her name is Nina Jankowicz. We've talked about her already. She is the headmaster of truth in this partisan hack of a manner. Watch.
I shudder to think about if free speech absolutists were taking over more platforms, what that would look like for the marginalized communities.
President Trump right now calling all of these news organizations that have inconvenient for him stories that they're getting out there, that he's calling fake news.
I think there's a general concern about Trump supporters potentially showing up armed to the polls.
At anti-vax conspiracy theories, or they're looking at information about Hunter Biden and his laptop, his alleged laptop, let's say, or they're looking at vote rigging conspiracies, right?
She is literally fake news herself and now supposed to police fake news? Come on. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas spent the weekend lying to the American people about her and the board, telling us that Jankowicz could be impartial, he said. No one believes that. Truth is, I don't even think the hardcore leftists believe it. Then, when asked if American citizens would be monitored by Biden's truth police, Mayorkas declared this.
Will American citizens be monitored?
No.
Guarantee that.
Well, so what we do, we in the Department of Home...
Monitored.
No.
Guarantee that.
Well, so what we do, we in the Department of Homeland Security don't monitor American citizens.
You don't.
National security is right-wing extremism. They told us that the #1 concern of the Department of Homeland Security is extremism from the right. People like me, we're the big threat, they tell us. This is from last May.
The department is taking a new approach to addressing domestic violent extremism, both internally and externally.
Internally and externally? Well, then how do you do that without monitoring American citizens? All of that means, of course they are, okay? They're monitoring us, conservatives. The threat that we pose is simple to them. See, we know the truth. And nothing triggers like truth, by the way, and that's dangerous to them. And if the Department of Homeland Security isn't monitoring American citizens, then why did the Attorney General release this now infamous and outrageous memo, labeling vocal, outspoken parents at school board meetings, well, domestic terrorists? There's also this DHS bulletin from just about 3 months ago. It reads under Team Biden, quote, DHS designated domestic violent extremism as a national priority area. Yet Mayorkas goes on to tell the world that they're not monitoring American citizens when they basically announce that's all they're doing? What is so ironic is that Team Biden creates a ministry of truth to silence us when it is them that are doing all the lying. And in fact, they were doing all the lying all weekend long.
The Democrats have a wonderful story to tell, and I think it could be distilled to something as simple as the Democrats saved your life, they saved your job, they saved the economy, and now they're trying to save democracy from a Republican Party that no longer believes it.
Save democracy from us? Will the Ministry of Truth flag that right there, what you just saw, as a lie? Of course not. Republicans don't believe in democracy? That's what he says? Come on. Joe Biden acts like a dictator, using executive orders and agency regulations to do what? He makes an end run around Congress with all these tricks. And the American people, by the way. Only Republicans are trying to stop that. The reality is the media is a joke and has been for a long time. This is from 1995, after the Oklahoma City bombing. The Today Show, Bryant Gumbel, blamed conservative talk radio for that deadly attack on the Murrah Federal Building.
While no one's suggesting that right-wing radio jocks approve of violence, the extent to which their approach fosters violence is being questioned by many observers, including the President of the United States.
You see what I'm saying? That was Clinton, by the way. Nothing's changed since 1995. This is the same thing they claim about me. Most of all of us hosts on Newsmax, that somehow we foster violence. How do we do it? By speaking the truth? That doesn't foster violence. And last time I checked, it's liberals that are engaging in the violence across the country, not NRA members, not Trump supporters, not good conservatives, not America First patriots. So no Republican ever considered forming a government agency to censor the media's lies. We've never done that. See, America has this program. We call out the media's lies daily, and it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything. That's free markets at work. Yet taxpayers are now paying for the left's partisan war on the right, with the creation of this new Ministry of Truth. Another waste of public dollars when MSNBC and CNN seem to be handling all that just fine. And unlike them, though, the left, I don't want CNN or MSNBC censored or taken off air. I trust all of you to see their lies with no need for the government to point them out.